Hey everybody, we are diving into one of the hottest portions of investments in the real estate market. Fortunate to be here with Tyler Shields. Tyler, we are considering you our in-house short-term, mid-term rental expert, right? And what we're seeing is for so many years, people would buy these investment properties and they'd be looking at the 12-month lease, right? Now here comes the short-term rentals, the Airbnbs, the VRBOs, the mid-term rentals, right? So I can personally attest, right, and I promise to stop talking, but my husband and I recently bought a property up at Loon Mountain and have dove into this short-term rental market. And I will tell you, we would be absolutely lost if it wasn't for Tyler's guidance, expertise, and ongoing communication. So Tyler, help us understand, what is it you offer? What are some services you can provide to, I just bought a rental property,
Sure.
Now what?
Well, thank you for the introduction, Julie. As you know from what we went through the past couple months, there's obviously a lot of tedious things that go into the startup of one of these places. What we've done is we started going into the short-term rental space and looking at what are the most complications that hosts experience when they're entering one of these spaces. And we found that the typical things that people are going through is more tedious end of laws and regulations that the city may have in terms of permitting, and if it's actually allowed, the guest communications that you have to do. But most importantly, it's all the things that you may not think of, the day-to-day things that come with guests and what they're actually expecting on that experience that they're coming in for. So what we've done is broken it down into a real simple process for someone that has no involvement or has interest in this area but has not had any access to this yet, and what are the most important things to get them into that space. And so we started off our management services handling everything from the initial furnishings of the unit, where we would come in and we would do a consultation where we would look at what are the highest priorities to get this place rent ready and listed. If there's any furnishings that are missing, anything that can enhance the guest experience, and we do a deep dive into the unit and find all the things that will lead to a more productive and higher rating unit. Then from there we do a market analysis where we look at the comparable units that are in the region and what they're doing in terms of performance and other things that they may be missing in terms of value, and where your unit could come in and play a role in providing value for that market. The final thing that we do is we set up all the systems in order for the property to function. With that, that comes with setting up house manuals, guest guidebooks, setting up your guest communications, and all the systems and automations that come with it. What we saw was most guests have a huge, what we saw is most hosts have a huge problem with the time commitment that comes along with it. It becomes really time consuming when you're handling the day-to-day operation of this. You know, it's been said that it's almost like running a small business where you're setting up the coordinations with your cleaner, the maintenance people, the communications that you're having with the guests, in addition to the marketing and the pricing that goes on within the day-to-day task that goes along with your short-term rental business. What we saw is that some hosts like to play some part in this where they, you know, feel real comfortable in the space of furnishing the unit and handling the messaging with the guests, but may not want to get involved with the day-to-day cleaning that comes with it, or having to set the pricing structure and fees. So what we've come in and try to do is offer the option of being able to take over some more of those tedious tasks that the host may not feel so comfortable in, where we're able to set up a great network of contractors and house cleaners and maintenance repairmen and pricing teams that are able to handle the ongoing day-to-day stuff that comes with your rental and take some of those tasks away from the host.
Oh, I think, Tyler, you're going, you know, in depth about all these tasks, and I'll speak from experience. When we first sat down with you, it was clear to me, first of all, the synergy with real estate, and I was frustrated by the ignorance, because the reality is, you know, quickly you showed us the metrics in how to make sure your search shows up. I mean, it's a very popular market right now, so you need your listing to be up there, or how to make your home ready, or the checklist to have. I mean, the day you sent us an Excel spreadsheet down to how many paper towels and where they should be hung and how you coordinate and rent it, candidly, it was things we hadn't even considered.
Right.
And I think, you know, depending on the destination, people have this perception that, well, I will rent it, of course, but if you're going to go through the exercise, you certainly want to make sure you're maximizing. So
Absolutely.
let's break that down a little bit, because a little bit of what you talked about was how you manage it for people, right? And clearly, the more you talk, the more it's going to help people identify. They either want to set it and forget it or be involved, but it's clear they don't know the depth of involvement that's needed, right? It's not just hire the cleaner and hope it all works out. There's so many details to, one, protect your investment, and two, maximize the income and screen out, who you want to be there. So let's go back and start day one. Okay. Now someone calls you and says, I want to get my property ready and my listing ready. What are some things they need to be thinking about?
That's a great question. So the first thing I think that you would think about is, what is the ideal guest that you're trying to attract? As you mentioned, the market is becoming more and more saturated. So one of the biggest things that we're seeing is trying to market directly towards the guest that you're trying to attract. What more of the short-term rental platforms are trying to do now is get guests that are specifically looking for certain features in a house, whether that be kid-friendly or work-from-home space, or you're looking for a certain traveler or someone that's coming into the unit. I would encourage anyone that's looking to put their property out there, what's that guest that you're trying to attract, and then work backwards from that direction. That's going to motivate what you're going to do in terms of your designs, your furnishings, your policies and procedures that you set up for the property, how long you want to have it available, and who you're ultimately trying to attract into that process. From there, there's other determinations you need to make, such as if you're going to have pets allowed, and if you're going to be hosting for short-term stays or mid-term stays. A lot of the market now is looking into these stays that are anywhere from 3 weeks to 3 months, specifically for traveling nurses or business professionals. And that's something that can also be done through these short-term rental platforms such as Airbnb or VRBO, and there's other sites out there that's more geared towards the midterm rentals. In addition to that, you're going to want to look for obviously what the level of involvement is. So whether that means you guys are going to want to come in and have a full property management company that's going to handle that day-to-day services, but also everything that comes up in between. This is obviously ideal for maybe an out-of-state investor, someone that is fully swamped in 80 hours of work each week and has a family and has no time commitment towards this. Or perhaps you're a local real estate investor that's really looking to get your hands involved on this and get, or perhaps you're a local investor that's looking to get deep involved in this and get involved with the day-to-day services that go on.
So what would, as a property manager, what would you do?
As a property manager, the most important priority we would come in and we would try to set everything up with systems and automations that's going to set your property up for success. So that looks like coming in and handling your guest communications by setting up templates of how you want messages to go out and appear to your guests. A lot of this can be done through automation and systems and processes that are out there where you don't have to necessarily involve the day-to-day work that comes with it. The second realm of that would be your pricing and your marketing that goes out there. But it's really important to stay on top of the pricing and make sure you're competitively priced compared to the other units. As we were talking about earlier, there's certain times that come up where a peak night could have a 3 or 4 times increase in rate of what you would typically see. So making sure you're catching those pricing increases on your calendar and you're staying up to date with the competition. The third realm of that would be handling anything with the cleaners and the maintenance teams. Obviously, every time you have a new guest coming in, you're getting a full house inspection. So they're going to be looking to make sure that everything's up to par every time you get a check-in. So making sure you have the proper teams and systems set in place to make sure that these things get done properly. And then finally, bringing that all together and providing the owner with reporting on how the property's going, how other properties in the market are doing, what their trends are, if occupancy rates are coming up or down, and how you can price your property strategically to promote the highest overall occupancy rates and highest booking rates.
I think where the real opportunity is here is a lot of people I work with tend to want to be involved okay? But I can't say enough what a big piece they'd be missing without that at least starting point. And your consultation services have been tremendous. So what Tyler did is he went and stayed at our home, and he emerged after staying for a few days with a checklist of things we hadn't thought of or we weren't complete yet. And so we went up, completed the checklist, and then made sure our manual was there. And this all comes from experience, because we can't overlook the fact that we talk about getting it going, but then reviews will make you live or die on the vine of short-term rentals, right? So what's the guest expectation? What are they looking for when they come in? And making sure it was such a comprehensive service. So now what we were fortunate to have with you is you got us off the starting block so tremendously. And again, that would be my biggest take home, is things we hadn't thought of, incomplete details, but now systems that it's verifiable and something we can replicate guest after guest. And I can say 3 weeks in, we are 85% to our annual goal, right? And we just started this. So help us understand, if someone wants to have a hand involved, how do your consultation, I mean, I'm gonna sing your praises to anybody who wants to do it, but from your perspective, if the phone call comes and they say, I wanna be involved, but I need help. Right. It sounds to me, there's no set it and forget it. One way or another, you have sort of an a la carte offering to help people maximize with their own individual goals. Is that accurate?
And that's a great example of what we've done over the past couple of months with their place up in Lincoln.
Yeah.
I think, there's a lot of opportunity when you look at what the market's coming to right now. So when we looked at doing something such as the setup with your property where we went up, as you mentioned, there's a lot of things that may not be so obvious for when the initial guests are coming in. The method that we've tried to set up is to go in and set the expectation that you from the start are never going to fall below that 5-star review.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, that's something that's really important to these listings, is maintaining that high rating. So what we wanted to do is go in and take it from the perspective of the most tedious guest that would come in and look at your place, where we go through every single inch of the property and try to identify those areas that could be problem areas for you in the future. That way you're going to prevent having those issues come up somewhere down the road.
Right.
And you can address those up front. So for an individual that would love to still have some level of involvement with the place, what we like to do is come in and do a rental readiness assessment, where we're able to come in and look at the property and figure out what are the most essential pieces in order to get this listed. A lot of the times that has to deal with simplifying this to work for short-term rentals, such as installing smart locks and identifying ways that you can make your unit stand out for easy ways for guests to check in.
We have different color towels.
Exactly.
Our towels are one color, the guest towels are another. I mean, the level of detail, I couldn't be more impressed. And it just made us feel like we were grounded and ready for success. However, we wanted to now work this investment, because this is certainly something investment, but something we want to use regularly, and figuring out how to do both of those.
Another piece of this is definitely the level of inventory that goes into some of these places. When you start looking at, a 3 or 4 bedroom place, and the amount of sheets and towels and toothpaste and toothbrushes that you need for that, it can become quite tedious to go out and try to source all that product and figure out where your best deals are going to be and get good, reliable materials and products that are working for you.
Right.
So for what we did is, anyone that works with our services, we provide an inventory database where they're able to go in and order all their products through. These are products that we've used in our own listings, that we've used with our own guests, that have proven to be very well for us and worked really well.
Down to how many rolls of toilet paper we should put out and how many we should keep in our owner's closet, right? And again, I know I'm repeating myself, but that's just such the take home for me. There was so much we hadn't thought of. That's really what I can't drive home enough. There was so much we hadn't thought of.
Right.
And it's so clear to us, 1, the compromise of our unit had we not employed some of these systems. 2, the lack of confidence that we knew what the heck was going on. And 3, something that was replicable, right? Particularly being 2.5 hours away. So, I hear so many people trying to diversify their investments and engaging in this short-term rental. And I would just drive home, you don't know what you don't know but we have someone that does. Whether you are looking for someone, you just want to make the phone call and be done with it, whether you want the consultative approach where you want him to go and get you up and running, like I said, Excel spreadsheets and organization and owner's manuals, it's certainly made my husband and I feel like we have a handle on this and can enjoy the prosperity that it offers. And if you look at these two realms, know too that you may have a unique need, and Tyler can certainly sit down with you and customize what kind of help you're getting, whether it's a one-time thing, an ongoing thing, or maybe a myriad of those things in between. The point is there's a lot of opportunity in this type of investment, and there's also a lot of opportunity for pitfalls and detriments to your unit and your investment. Don't make that mistake. Give Tyler a call. I can vouch for him 1,000,000%. You've been a blessing to be a part of our team, and happy to have you as part of this short-term rental, midterm rental as well, property management consultant. Tyler, thank you so much for all you've done for my family, and certainly for anybody watching, you'll make a mistake if you don't give Tyler a call.
Thank you, Julie. I really appreciate you having me today.